Stand on protocol, but I'd like to acknowledge the Honourable Philip Brave Davis, Prime Minister, the Honourable Chester Cooper, Deputy Prime Minister, the Honourable Ginger Moxey, Minister of Grand Bahama, and of course Josh, Renata, Jason, Angie. I've lost my mic. Can you hear me? Is that better? No. Huh? Dashi made it worse.
Leave it to me. Leave it to me.
Thank you, Dashi. Again, I just wanted to mention Jason, Anshi, Alfredo, Renata, Josh, who have I missed? Marie, and of course Rupert, Henry, Ian Roll, my colleagues at the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and the many distinguished guests here. Good morning, everyone. As I was thinking about today, and I've worked with the shipyard for many years, I realized that even at my age, I still didn't know how a heavy steel platform could lift a several 100,000 gross ton ship clean out of the water, with no propulsion, hoists, or cranes, just ballast and water pumps. And it's all down to an ancient Greek mathematician called Archimedes, who discovered the principle of buoyancy in his bath. He found the formula whereby water pushes up an object that's lighter than the weight of the water it displaces. And it's said that he was so excited, he ran out into the street with no clothes on to see the king shouting, "Eureka!" which means found it. And that's still the principle under which ships and floating dry docks work. So in homage to Archimedes, I'd like to say, this is Grand Bahama's Eureka moment. A dry dock is not the prettiest of objects, but absolutely indispensable and sophisticated. Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and my father founded the shipyard as Lloyd Werft in 1999 with Giora's help. And my father's idea of a Sunday family picnic was not to take us to Gold Rock or Barbary Beach, but right here, Freeport Harbour, so we could admire the dry docks. He found them beautiful because he saw the exponential opportunities for Grand Bahama, and through him, we saw them too. He saw today. We don't always have to reinvent the wheel, just keep it turning. And as every mariner knows, boats must be lifted out of the water regularly to repaint the hull, overhaul underwater components like the rudder, tanks, propellers, and mega cruise ships are no exception, just bigger and heavier. Today, GB Shipyard has one mid-sized dock, capable of docking any vessel up to 1,000 feet long. With this enormous undertaking, Grand Bahama Shipyard will have the first floating dry docks in the Atlantic region capable of lifting the largest cruise ships in the world today. They're not merely large, they're classed as extra large, XL, and mega XL. Think 400 meters long, 90 meters wide, and capable of lifting Royal Caribbean's new Icon class ships, Carnival's new XL class ships, plus commercial vessels like post-Panamax container ships or LNG supertankers. Currently, these sophisticated mega cruise ships must go all the way back to Europe for refurbishment, and that's because such shipyards are mainly in Italy, France, Germany, Spain, and Finland, where most of the luxury cruise ships we know are actually built. And of course, there's India and China. That's why our Grand Bahama ship repair operation is such a great triumph. And you know, they say the difference between try and triumph is just a little umph. Well, this took quite a lot of umph. Carnival and Royal Caribbean linked arms to put in some $300 million of capital to date. And in just 15 years, they grew the shipyard into the largest maritime enterprise in the whole of the Caribbean and Central America. And despite all that transpired, all that could have scuttled us, including Dorian and COVID, this partnership persisted and strove day and night towards today's groundbreaking. As you've heard, it represents a renewed RCL and Carnival commitment to the island of a further $600 million. It's a eureka moment because when you combine that with Carnival's new celebration Key Port coming on stream, it means over $1 billion of new investment by the cruise lines alone, not counting other projects. So a giant boost to the economy, to tourism, to employment, to everyone, the trickle-through effect. And the Hawksbill Creek Agreement was premised on making Grand Bahama an industrial and maritime metropolis. It's what differentiates us from our other family islands and the whole Caribbean. With Freeport Harbour, the container port, and this shipyard expansion, Freeport is well on its way to becoming, Fred, the maritime centre of the Americas. And to put the magnitude of this in context, India and China have working populations of 1.4 billion. Italy, France, and Germany have workforces of some 50 to 60 million people. Compare that to our Bahamian workforce of just 380,000. It's like David and Goliath were small but mighty. And GBSY is still the largest single employer in Grand Bahama, providing skilled jobs and apprenticeships. Up to 2019, Bahamian salaries totaled $28 million per annum, and the yard directly contributed $63 million a year to the local economy. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we take our hard hats off to you and your team, Dave, if you're still awake. Of course, all this would not have been possible without dynamic public-private sector partnership and the support and assistance of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Grand Bahama, and other governmental agencies has been invaluable. And again, I'd like to express profound gratitude for that partnership, and to Carnival and Royal Caribbean for their steadfast commitment to this island and for their enormous investment in this island. So as the countdown begins, major yard upgrades start at once to prepare for the new dry docks, which will be built and brought by carrier from Qingdao, China. And I'd like to close with one anecdote from the good old days, because the very first dry dock was rushing from a very remote spot called Petropavlovsk near Vladivostok. And it had to be towed all the way here, about a half a kilometre behind a giant Russian military tugboat icebreaker, which carried a crew of some 50. But in the Arctic Ocean, by Newfoundland, they ran into the perfect storm with hurricane-force winds. And fearing the dock would sink his ship, Captain Vasily ordered the cable be cut, and the dock was cast adrift on the open ocean. When the seas calmed, he went to look for it, but with no luck. Canadian Coast Guard offered help, and after a search of several weeks, by some miracle, a rescue helicopter spotted it beached miles and miles away. And though battered, it was intact. And the rest is history, except that when he arrived here after his long, harrowing voyage, Captain Vasily categorically refused to enter the port until he received payment, some fresh vegetables, and 40 cases of vodka. And by the way, that dark one was still going strong till it hit bottom in Hurricane Dorian. So fortune favours the bold. Archimedes felt he could move the earth, and here we like to move heaven and earth. So we invoke blessings that this bold shipyard, as it says in Isaiah 58:12, shall be known not just as a, but the repairer of ships. Thank you.